decimals and percents. So we'll just have some worked out examples and then we'll do that. Let's go fraction to decimal. Fraction to decimal, we'll start there. Fraction to decimal, that's what the arrow is. So if, let's say we were converting a fraction, you're given a fraction like 2/3. There's our fraction, and I'm telling you, convert that to a decimal. If I tried to represent 2/3, let's do it as a bar chart would have probably been a little bit better. But 2/3 would be 2 parts out of the 3 parts. So there's 2/3. To convert it, you're just going to take the top number and divide by the bottom number. 2 divided by 3. Just remember, top in the box. So the top number you're putting inside the box. Does 3 go into 2?
No.
So what do I do?
You add a 0 to it.
And something else.
Decimal.
Okay, so I'm going to add a decimal point there, 0. Does 2 go into 20?
Yeah.
Good. Whenever you're dividing in, go over the last digit, and it's got to be a single digit, so it's 9 or less that it can go into it. So how many times does 3 go into 20?
6.
6. Good.
Yeah.
And then what the next step?
Subtract.
No,
Multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. And again, write the last digit under the last digit that you just went into. You're lining those up. And then
Bring down 0.
subtract.
2.
And then
Bring down a 0.
bring down a 0. What are you noticing what's going to happen
It's just
here?
going to keep going over and over.
Good, yeah, because that goes in there 6 times. I'm going to multiply again. I'm going to 18 again. I'm going to subtract. It's going to be 6 again. Or 2 again. So yes. Do you guys know how to write a repeating decimal?
Yes. No.
Okay, so if it is repeating, there's 2 different ways that I've seen it. One is it can be written like 0.6666 ... It just means that it continues on that way, and a lot of times you'll see it that way if the computer that they did to create that number doesn't have like a line that you can put over it. Most times though, when you see 0.6 repeating, just like that. So a line right over only the repeating parts. So if I had like 0.23666666, I wouldn't put a line over the 2 and the 3. I would just put it over the 6. So any questions on converting a fraction to a decimal?
No.
Okay. Decimal
Into a fraction.
to a well, actually, it would be easier to do a decimal into a fraction first. Let's do that.
Decimal to fraction.
Yeah. Okay, so decimal into a fraction. So let me give you an example. I'm trying to stay consistent with these colors. So if I were to give you 0.2. What you do with that is you actually just say the name. Say the name of that number. I forgot I was going to write little notes for that.
2.
Say the name.
2.2.
Say it.
Say 2.
Say it as a name. It's 2 tenths. So if I wrote that 2 tenths, that's how you write it. So 2 tenths. And then you simplify it. Is there a common fraction that goes into both of those even?
Yeah.
What?
5.
Or 2, maybe. 2. So you got to divide the top and the bottom by the same number. Yeah, so 0.2 is actually 1/5. Any questions on converting a decimal to a fraction? You just say it. Let me give you one more example. Let's say we had
0.6.
0.65.
Oh.
Let's say it. How would you say that?
6,500. 6,500.
Good. So 65 hundredths. Oh, running out of room. So then if I wrote that, it'd be 65 over 100. And then, what goes into both those evenly?
5. Yes.
What's 65 divided by 5? How does 5 go into 6?
13 times.
Once, and then I'd subtract it, be a 1. How many times does 5 go into 15?
3.
Okay. And then how about 100? How many nickels are there in a dollar?
20.
Okay. 13 20ths. Alright, down. I mean, the deci is what?
Evil, because it says
And
now.
and
you learned the root or the.
Oh,
not
these
the
are so
root, but the,
impressive.
uh, whatever that is. Now.
Or
Yeah,
origin.
the
Latin. Okay. Love it. Okay. So 0.25. Maybe it is the root of all evil. So 0.25, and we're converting that as a decimal to a percent. Percent means parts out of 100. Like, that's what it means. That's the literal word for it. So to do this, you are just multiplying this by 100. So let's write that. Multiply by 100. But let's talk about that. When you're multiplying by 100, if you multiply by 10, we'll start there. What do you do with the decimal point?
Move it over.
Move what over?
The
Decimal point. Yeah, whenever you're multiplying by a power of 10, you're changing that decimal point and you're moving it to the right by however many powers of 10. So if it was 10, you'd move it over once. If it's 100, you'd move it over twice. So let's just write that. Move the evil thing to the right. I'll just put an arrow twice. No matter where it's at. So 0.25 becomes, oh, I think I do that in pink, right?
No, but you said the pink was too light.
To do the work. No, different pink. 0.25. If I move it over once, twice, it'll go right there. So it's actually 25. Good.
I like percent.
25%. Yep. If there's no number there, like let's say I had a number like 3.7. That's the number, and I said convert that to a percent. The rule is the same. I'm just gonna take 3.7 and move that decimal point over twice, so it'll be 370%. Yes.
Then you like 37%?
Because you have to multiply by 100. So if you multiply by 100.
Not 37. Nope. That would just be once. That'd just be times 10. Even if there's on my invisible math over there, I don't remember what color it is. If there's no decimal point there, like let's say I had just 15. Where's the decimal point in that number? After the 5. So I'm moving that over twice. That's going to be 1500.
Percentages.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
What if it's like 0.0
Like some zeros in it.
0.015.
Good example.
5%. That'd be 15%.
You're just going to move it over twice.
Oh,
So that will equal 1.5%. Yes. All right. Any questions on decimals to percents?
wait.
Yeah.
I know how teachers grade. They just divide like the top fraction by the bottom fraction and then multiply by 100.
Yeah, like so let's say you got on the test, there were 29 possible points and you got 28 right. I just take 28 divided by 29 and then move the decimal point 2 places to the right.
What?
Actually, the computer program does the math. Okay, so we're converting from a percent to a decimal, we are just dividing by 100, so we're moving the decimal point how many times where?
In front.
Left to left. On.
Good.
Left.
So if I had 36%, I am just going to, I'll just write the notes just like I did up there. Divide by 100. So move decimal point to the left twice.
Evil 10.
Evil 10.
Evil 10. So we've got 36%. Again, where's the decimal point in that number if I don't see it?
Right
after
after right after the first place value.
Yeah, it's right here. So if I move that to the left, it's gonna go right there. So that's gonna equal 36 hundredths.
It was after the 6.
No, it's before the 3.
It was after the 6.
It's before the 3.
Let's say you have
It was after the 6.
3.2. Whoopsies. percent. What would I do with that?
Divide by 100.
0.032.
So it'll be what?
0.032.
Good, you guys. Okay. Any questions on decimals to percents? Last two. Okay, so when you're converting from a percent to a fraction, depending on the number, there's some different things that you could do. Let's say I had 75%. You could, here, let's go the other route. Put the number over 100. That could be the first thing you could do. So 75 is actually small. I'll do that here. 75 over 100. Then, because remember, percent is out of 100 anyway. So per 70.
Oh, yeah.
Then, the percent is right there, but just needs to be simplified. So if you have to simplify it, I really need you to simplify it. So, can you see it okay?
25.
What? Oh, good one. I like it. Divided by 25.
I was gonna say 5, but
What's 75 divided by 25?
3.
Yeah.
5.
4.
And then
Perfect. So 75% as a fraction is just 3/4.
and 1.
105%. What would you do with that?
Oh, I know this. You would put it over 200.
It's still always
1,000.
no. It's actually still always over 100 because
Over
this is
100
parts
and
per 100. So I'd write 105 over 100
And then you just simplify.
and then just simplify. So what
100?
So then.
what goes into both those evenly?
100?
No. 100? No.
No.
10. What?
50.
5 does. I don't think 50 does either.
25.
How many times does 5 go into 100? We already talked about this.
20.
20, and then one more for this 5, so 21,
20.
and then over 20. Can I simplify that more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it's still a fraction that you could use. It's still 21 over 20, but if you have to write it as a mixed number and they don't want it as a common fraction, then just divide it out. Like you would take 21 divided by 20. I would do it in my head, but we're going to write it out as the example so you know how we did it. 20 goes into 21 once, 20, subtract 1. Whatever the remainder is, that's the part of the fraction. So 1 and 1/20th. That's right.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about wrinkle in time.
So, if you're given, and you guys, I'm using really easy numbers up here. You're going to start knowing all these common fractions as percents and decimals. But at least we have examples of how to convert them. Yeah, you're always going to know, like, a quarter is 25%. But let's talk about how to do that. Oh, I need the orange one. If you can, since it is percent and it's out of how much? 100. So if you can get that denominator to 100. So method 1, denominator to 100. So then if I took this, I can do method 1 with this one. You can't with all of them. All of the fractions that you use aren't going to go into 100 evenly on the denominator. But this one does. 4 times what is 100?
25.
And then you just do the to the top and the bottom. So that equals what?
2,500.
Which means what is 1/4 as a percent? Okay. So that is method 1. Let's try method 2. Method 2, if you would use this, if You can't easily get the denominator to 100. You could just divide first. So let's take 1 divided by 4. Oh, pink.
4.
I wonder if I should, I'm gonna draw a line.
Oh, 0.25.
Yeah.
Just so I can separate my method 1 and method 2. 1 divided by 4. Does 4 go into 1?
No.
Not evenly, no. How about into 10?
Yeah, because 8.
There are 4s in 10. How many 4s are there?
2.
What is 4 times 2?
8.
And remember, write it down the last digit you're going into. Then subtract. What's 10 minus 8?
2.
Then, if it doesn't end, you got to keep going. So I have to put on a 0. You want to get this to a terminating decimal. So 4 into 20?
5.
All right. Then it ended. So now I have a decimal right here, 0.25. The next step is to move, multiply by 100. Move decimal to the right twice. I was trying to write it in as few words as possible. So it'll be 0.25, and you're going to move that over twice. So it'll be 25%. Yes, percent. I thought I was doing this a whole wrong problem. Okay.
Then you would have to get your